Okay, it's Tony here. Hello everyone, both of you. Right, today I did promise I was going to show you the rest of this black box. Now, obviously I've opened it and had a look because this is what it looked like when I was hunting around the shed last weekend doing a bit of tidying up. And it was there buried amongst all my workbox files, so there was no way I'd have been able to find this unless I'd had this big clear out, and I'm having this big clear out and this is what I found. So without any further ado, let's have a look what's inside. Oh, look, a lovely hinged thing. Yes, folks, this is the very, very first actual prototype I made of Snowdonia, or as it was then called, mountain railways. We're talking pre everything about Snowdonia that you know and possibly love nowadays. Absolutely incredible. Look, even got all the pieces still packed up in the baggies. I think I played this twice and we never played a whole game. We just played like half an hour just to try some stuff out. Bits and pieces, cards, action cards, very, very different to the normal way of things. Let's have a look. This is one of those things where I kind of let it mull in my mind, and then when I was on the train I would draw diagrams like this, which have alternative board layouts, different action ideas, all sorts of stuff. In fact, this is weird, this one, because this is 2008. There we go, look. Action spaces, possibly, action cards. Got a cycle of things. Oh, God, this is epic. There we go, look at that market foundry, that sort of weird loop. Odd things. And then on this side, strangely, it mentions a little bit about guilds. And something else to do with, that's Glory to Rome. Looks like I was specking up a guide to Glory to Rome for somebody else. And actually some little basic rules. So this is good. This was 2009, of course. Guild was 2016 eventually. I'm going to check that out of the way. So let's take a quick look at the rules. I mean, they're quite nicely done. There's like 16 pages on them. So you've got a component list. You've got how to play the game. It plays it in 3 stages. I was reading through this a bit earlier on, and it's got a whole bunch of stuff missing, like basic things like putting rubble on the empty track spaces, that kind of thing. But I'm sure I was thinking about it at the time. It talks about buying extra workers for 10 victory points. Yeah, this is all really early stuff. Structure's fairly the same. Time track maintenance, right? Yeah, this is where you didn't have stations as such. You had contracts, which you bid for either as solo or combined with another player. And then when you had all the resources, you'd stick a counter down, a dice down to say, right, I've got 3 turns to wait with my workers. So your workers would be taken out of the action allocation pool to be working on the actual bit of the station. A market, or as it became a stockyard. There were bonus cubes that let you do weird stuff. Taking out a loan. Jesus Christ, did I think I was Martin Morris? But the interesting bit, and the bit that I was quite tickled by when I was reading this again, is these extra action cards. Because you started off with some basic action spaces, and let's go and get those cards out. As ever, I do this one-handed, so it's really awkward. I'll come back to that in a minute when I'm doing stuff to add pieces. Now, I think I had everything backwards, so the red cubes are brick. Yellow cubes are bonus cubes. The cylinders are rubble, I think. I'm not sure what the brown cubes are. They're definitely not rubble. And there's all the player pieces for putting on contracts and stuff like that. Got some track pieces, obviously. Lovely, lovely. And some more grey cylinders for the rubble. They can go out of the way. And then we have black markers and dice. So these are to do with loans and tracking stuff to do with that. And also, these are the contracts. See, as a sort. I mean, oddly, these would have become the contract cards, obviously. So if I do 1 bit of track, I get 4 points. That's sort of transferred across into the new game. 2 track for 12. So I was kind of doing the escalating, build more things, get more points for them individually type thing. But yeah, there was a tiny stack of excavation bonuses and a tiny stack of track laying bonuses, and that was it. Nothing else. The board, well, look at that. I was thinking about the Jungfrau then. This is the B side of the board. That was the Jungfrau. It had spaces for snow on the weather. And then on this side, and this was in my designer diary, I think, because I found the file with it, and it's the original board. So you have your scoring around the outside. You have the different, actually, it's not upside down at all. It is double-sided, sort of like that. So you start down there at Lamberis, this will have rubble on it, and then you dig away the rubble. I think it was 4 pieces per space. Then you can lay your track piece down. You just actually put a bit of track on it and scored the points straight away, so there was no need for player markers as such. And then these were mandatory, red things were mandatory stations. So there were contracts that you had to bid for. And then there were optional stations like the water tower. So we lost the water tower altogether. That didn't actually make it into the final game in any shape or form, the water tower. Maybe I should do that as a lost Snowdonia Legends or something. It's just after the NSKN stuff is produced, because they'll tell me off if I produce anything new before then. Passing loot, it's nice. You can notice the sort of Wallace-esque / 18xxe aesthetic with the graphics there. Insurance markers. Oh, that's what those black cylinders are. They are insurance markers. So you could kind of proof yourself against somebody dumping the contract before it was finished and you getting penalised for it. Yeah, it was quite Wallacean, wasn't it? Until I turned it into something a little bit more straightforward. Yeah, well, I'm quite pleased I did that, because I think it's a better game. But there's some nice things in the ideas there. But the best one, the thing that captures my imagination the most about this, is the action spaces. Right, look, I'm going to have to stop being a twat with this. I should have taken these out first. That would have been preparation. So what you've got is you've got your standard actions. Okay, let's put those down there. D and E. So let's have a look. There we go. Lovely. So there we go. And then at the beginning of each round, and there's an F as well. There we go. And there's a bonus card. I'm not sure. I think that's a starting thing as well. So that goes there. Brick and iron ore. Okay. I think those are things that you can pay towards. And then you have a lovely, lovely deck of these action cards. And you simply turn one over at the beginning of the round, and it overlays action D. So instead of lay track 1 from the personal supply onto a work towards a contract or to a storing it up to be done on a station space, you now have this one, which is improved track laying. So you can now play with 1 worker going there. You can put 2 bits of track down on either towards a work chit or readiness for fulfilling a contract. So I quite like this mechanism. And some of them, this is discard when used. So at the end of the round where there's been at least 1 worker on it, that would go away. If nobody used it that round, it would stay till the next round. However, beginning every round, oh, look at that, bad weather, no track laying this round. So actually that would have stayed and then gone if nobody had used it. So I pick up D's and a seasonal labour. So normally the E action here is recruit. So pay 10 victory points to get yourself an extra worker for the rest of the game. Or we can have seasonal labour, so it replaces E. So return. So -2 equals. Oh right, so you're just paying 2 victory points just for that 3rd worker. So it's a bit like paying coal. Return it. Keep this card. So discard when used. So it's only 1 user. So you put your guy on there. You get on there. You get your worker. Just cost you 2 victory points just for the 1 round. Oh, that's quite sweet. So it goes on like that. Kiln. So. A, B, C, D, that's E. So that would replace the seasonal labour again. So 2 rubble becomes 1 brick, up to 3 times. And well, of course, that carries on. I'm not sure what this is, this 2 thing here. I think it might be if both spaces are used, you flip it over. No, there's something else. I don't know what that's for. Don't know. I'll do a couple more because they're quite fun to do these. Replace E or F. So the start player would choose according to the rules. So I'll put this over the F. So you can't take a loan anymore. And this is just a victory point space. So first worker goes in there, gets 3 veeps, goes on the board. Nice. I'll do a couple more. There we go. Imported labour. Replace E or F. So this one can replace E. Simply put a marker on there, and you can. I'm not quite sure whether you give up a worker to get points. Not quite sure. No, you take one. You put the workers on there, and then yeah, I think these are black nickel pieces. Let me just have a look. Are they in there? No. Are they in the other one? No. Maybe you do. Maybe you put a worker on there, and that's how much it costs you to get the worker instead. So it's cheaper than paying the 10. I'm addicted to the all hands. Now see, that's an event. No track lane this round. Complete 2 segments of the current stage. So there's only one of those, I think, in the deck. So the events obviously weren't in my head at this time. That must have been when I did the revamp. And I kind of sat down and left this in this box somewhere in the corner, probably boxed up with all my accounting things, and kind of drew it all out again from my head and from my notepads. So I left quite a lot of this behind. I really like this replacement action thing. I have to do something with this. This would be great. No seasonal labour. I don't quite know it's crossed out there. That's a bit shit. Imported track, so you can buy the track for victory points instead of actually having to convert it. So that's quite good. So there's a lot going on here. Well, another one of those. Shit. There we go. Not here. Go first. Yeah. Local trader. Two things for one other thing. Probably not that great, to be honest with you. Black market, buy any quantity of items or sell any quantity of items. Super duper. Actually, no, these are prices. Now I remember. Yeah, you start with 10 victory points. So you have to pay victory points in order to get these things. So the more you buy, so when you finish this side, you flip it over and they're more expensive. And then it flips back over, unless you get some of these things. Take all items from general stock, not from the cards, and you can't use it in the final stage. There's obviously 3 stages. What else have we got in this pack of cards? I really like those. I'm going to come back to that at some point. I'm going to have to go off and do a bit of brainstorming. Now, here's the contracts. Now, these will look very familiar to anybody who's played Snowdonia because they're pretty much what became the actual stations rather than contracts. So you get, that's when it's up for auction. So there was this weird auction thing where you could bid the same as the player next to you, and then somebody else had to bid more, etc., etc. And when it's done, everybody gets 4 victory points and they get a card. And I think that's one of those action cards, and they can play it over an action or onto the table and use it instead of somebody else. I can't remember. It's not written in the rulebook, so that was obviously something I was thinking about. Bloody loan cards, what a twat. So there's all those. That's it. So contract cards, which became stations. Action changing cards, which kind of became trains, I suppose. Loans, because victory points is money. Yeah, very Martin Wallace. So there you go. That was the treasure that was in this amazing, very anonymous looking black box file, and a couple of spare ones. That's good. I need those actually. I'll put those to one side. So even more of a bonus. There it is. The magical black box. Bye.